this is hard for me to even put into words, but every year you have people in the media and your rose-colored glass uh, fans on social media that are going to hype up some position that has been struggling as we are back, deepest it's ever been. They're stacked this year. And so everything's with a grain of salt. Right now, the narrative out of spring ball is that the wide receiver room is stacked. In fact, I posted a video last night with a quote from Jacob Gill. He said, "We're as deep as we've ever been." And I tend to agree that that's likely the case. But until I see the production translate, I'm not going to sit here and throw a party for a wide receiver. So when you bring up seemed like they were set last year, I think probably set because they didn't have enough competition at certain positions. Offensive line, there was plenty of competition. There wasn't enough competition at quarterback. There wasn't enough competition because remember, Sullivan hadn't gotten there yet. There wasn't enough competition at wide receiver. And yeah, I mean, I think those are the two big ones that we learned a lot more. And then, you have with the Caleb Johnson leaving, there's just a big void there. So we saw some good flashes from freshman Nathan McNeil. And Kamari Moulton's gained a lot of weight, so that's positive. I expect Jazz Patterson to be a big factor this year. I didn't really pay attention to the run game at all on Saturday, I'll be quite frank. Besides seeing Nate McNeil make some impressive cuts. I think he wears 25. Our good friend Tom Caker to HawkeyeReport.com said he looks like a young Akram Wadley. Maybe not quite. I mean, he's a freshman. Akram stayed skinny his whole career, so hopefully Nathan McNeil gets a little bigger and keeps that shiftiness. But yeah, I think there's something to be said for there's still position battles to be won. I know there's a couple position battles to be won up front along that offensive line, and they've had some good movement in the portal this spring to supplement the roster and the depth chart.
Now, pardon my smirk, but when you bring up Jacob Gill's comment, I smirk, number one, because it's the Iowa wide receiver group. And until they play through that, I will continue to smirk. But number two, the guy's been around for one season.
Yeah. That's what I say. But the media or whoever wants to hype up and get clicks, they're going to promote that. That's going to get promoted. Hey, I did it. I posted a video with that in all caps because that's what he said. It is what he said. Now, I'm not going to go out there and tout it because I don't know that that's true. I do think they're probably as deep as they've been in quite a while. But you're right. He's not an authority on this because he's been here 1 year. I'll say I think it's fair to say, hey, they've got guys now, Gill, Seth Anderson. Seth Anderson's, but this is like year 3 for him. This is his first spring. He's been hurt every spring. So he got through a spring this year. That's huge. Gill was really good last year. I mean, relative to the rest of what we're used to, didn't have drop passes, was just solid route runner, good speed. So those two, Reese Vanderzee had his big game against Illinois State last year in the season, the home opener, struggled the rest of the season, dealt with some injuries, but he's back. Jarrett Bowie missed a lot of spring. Don't know how much of spring ball he even got in, but he has been a guy that's seen some significant playing time. Dayton Howard had a big touchdown catch last year as a redshirt freshman. He's back, third year. You'd expect him to take a jump. And then you add Sam Phillips, a kid from Chattanooga, who I may be most excited about, given his speed and quickness. And then they really like KJ Parker, and there have been some clips out of spring ball that have been impressive from him. So, I mean, I just named like 6 guys, and we didn't even touch on Caden Weegan, who's a return specialist of the year that theoretically should be able to be used on offense more. So that's a lot. That is a lot of talent. I mean, I don't know to what extent, like how did that compare to other Big Ten schools? I don't know. But compared to recent groups, there's a lot of talent there. I mean, we've had, how many years have we said, Alec Wick or Jack Johnson or Alex Eichmann, with all due respect to those walk-ons, we're talking about those guys getting playing time. I mean, those guys are, several of them transferred out. We're not looking at any walk-ons being in the rotation or even close to the rotation unless all craziness breaks out between now and fall camp with injuries.
So if this wide receiver core plays to expectation, not some crazy expectation, just a reasonable expectation, what you can expect, and I know you don't have a track record on a lot of these guys, but at the top of the list you do, this would be the best wide receiver core at Iowa since?
It's a good question. I haven't thought about that.
The last time you felt really good about the Iowa wide receiver core?
I don't know that I ever felt really good about the receiver core ever since McNutt. Yeah, McNutt, when those guys graduated. I mean, Cheviola brings up, yeah, I believe me, Brandon Smith, Amir Smith, Marset are in my mind, but like the numbers though, with that offense, that they still weren't all that. It was still a tight end oriented offense, and it's still going to be a run first offense. But I would even go back further. I think this group has a chance to be more productive than the Brandon Smith, Amir Smith, Marset group. So maybe since 20, um, 11, 12. 12, they were not very good. The team wasn't very good, but that was like, I think Keenan Davis may have graduated in 12, and McNutt graduated in 11. DJK was gone in 10. So there were some good receivers in there. Trey Strauss is a good receiver in there. Colin Sandeman was a good receiver. By the way, Kirk's had some good receivers. I mean, we can just acknowledge that. He's had some good receivers. All those guys I just mentioned. Clinton Solomon was a good receiver. They've had it, Smith, Marset, and Smith would, solid receivers. Matt Vandenberg, solid receiver. But Tavon Smith, solid receiver. I think they have a chance to be more productive because of the system in part. But then I add in the fact that you have a guy in Tim Lester who knows how to use these guys. And it sounds like John Budmeyer's acclimated himself to coaching receivers, whatever that means. We'll see how that pans out. I don't know what the numbers were in 2017 to 2019. Actually, 2020. Smith Marset was back, I believe, in 2020. So it was 17 to 2020. You had that group of guys. And then it's just been nothing since then. With all due respect to everybody who's played at that position at Iowa since then, Nico Ragaini. I mean, it's been a huge struggle. So
Yeah.
I can't even think who are the other receivers.
Well, the best guy performed at Purdue, not at Iowa, of course.
Yeah, Keegan Johnson showed flashes, and then he transfers out. Arlen Bruce flashes, gambles, transfers out. I mean, there's a lot of the what ifs in there. Guys that maybe had potential futures in front of them, but they had an offensive coordinator and a wide receivers coach that weren't doing their jobs well enough, or even close to their jobs well enough. So theoretically now, I can speak a whole lot less for John Budmeyer, but you have an OC who clearly understands the receiver position, knows what he's wanting to target. He was able to hit on Sam Phillips, which I think is massive. And I just think they're going to have plenty of guys. I just put the portal windows closed. Nobody left. Okay. Nobody left. They could have lost somebody, Mark. Maybe you'd sit here and, respond to that, retort and say, hey, guy that leaves Iowa's receiving core because he doesn't think he's going to play ain't going to have a home nowhere else because nobody cares about Iowa's receiver core. Maybe there's an argument to be made there, but there's also a lot of guys that I think are going to be fed this fall, and that's a good problem to have. But may the best three win. They need the best three on the field, and it needs to be an explosive offense. I didn't say that last year. I talked about incremental growth. It needs to be an explosive offense this year.